Welcome to the Week 3 edition of KBL Game Day right here on Idabel's First 96.7 KBL. We got Coach Kincaid here in the building. Hey, if you happen to be on Facebook, we are streaming live on Facebook, so you can see our handsome faces and everything like that. Got Coach Kincaid here in the studio. Going to go back to last week's game against Broken Bow. Tough loss, as you know, as they always are. Looking at film, did you get a chance to look at film, and were there any additional items that you were able to take away from that game upon a second and maybe a third look?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we looked at our guys up front primarily. You know, a lot of our penalties came up front. You know, and I'm not gonna put the blame on anybody. We didn't play well enough. A couple backside holding penalties away from the play that really got us and shot us in the foot. We shot ourselves in the foot too many times. But going back watching it, you know, like I said last Saturday, it's minimal things that we can go back and get going, and get fixed. And I believe that we got some of it fixed this week. So
that's great to hear. We'll definitely get more into that. Before we go any further, we're going to shout out the middle school football team. They picked up a win. What was that? Monday at home against Hugo. What was it? 16-6?
16-6.
Okay, yes, congratulations going out to the middle school teams. And JV game had a real interesting ending. You scored. There were 2 touchdowns scored within the last minute. You convert the 2-point conversion. We're going into over. Was it overtime, or would y'all call it a tie?
I would have talked to Coach Cheer over there, Hugo, and we would have talked about it right there. So.
Right, and maybe, but that didn't happen. The conversion wasn't good. I think that pass went in and out of receivers' hands, but young Mr. Frost looked really good at quarterback.
Yes, he did.
And a lot of those passes were on the money. Hit the receivers right where they needed to be. Sometimes they were cut, sometimes they weren't. And then I got there probably halfway through the second quarter. I saw the little scuffle with 56 throwing a punch and got yanked out of the game. And then I saw him, the coaches punched him, doing up-downs up and down the field during the halftime segment. Interesting thing to see because, I played every bit of JV, varsity, and everything like that. And why would you swing on somebody? That was nuts. But big focus this week for you guys was conditioning.
Yes, sir.
No high school kids hate running unless they run track or play basketball. That's just a necessary part of any sport: football, baseball, basketball, whatever. We're talking about this prior to going on the air. Is their preferred method of conditioning? This could be your 40s. This could be your gassers. It could be your snake drill. And for those that, play football, when I say gassers, you know what I'm talking about. Down, back, and down again. That's one. And we usually ran like 4 or 5. How many ever Coach Hill, Hunt, Heim, any of them made us run at the end of practice. But, we were well conditioned, and that's just part of football. You have to run. And also, we also had the 12-minute run. Set down like 3 cones, and you got the jog. And then when you hit that second cone, you had to sprint and go around. And then you could go back into the jog. You did that for 12 minutes, which is a full quarter of high school football. No timeouts, none of that. And you just had to survive it. You know what I'm saying? So what is your preferred method with nowadays?
Yeah, so we ran a little bit of gashes this week. We ran what we like to call the ladder. Started at the 20, go all the way up through the 45, just sprints. The most average football plays about 20 yards, about 3 seconds. So we don't try to overdo it, but, we get them with the gashers, get them with the 40s, get them with the ladder. Making sure that, that we wanted to make sure that we conditioned them this week a lot, and make sure that their bodies were prepared to play at full tilt, throughout the whole game, and that's kind of what we wanted to work on this week. So 40s, gashers, and our ladder drill that we use. So.
Okay. And then another point of emphasis, hydrating throughout the week, because I know it's, a lot of kids caught cramps. I know it's still relatively early in the season. I noticed it was fairly humid out there last week against Broken Bow, and we have the shot of that happening again tonight because as we speak, we have rain moving through the area. I don't know if it's raining right now, but I looked on the radar. It's definitely in the area, and What's the preferred method? I know there's water, there's Gatorade, anything ending in A, Gatorade, Powerade, and all the hydration stuff. And then I know pickle juice is really popular.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we made sure that, we got almost everybody on the team has water jugs, and so last week, they were flushing so much water, they flushed all the electrolytes out their system, which caused a few of those cramps. But this week we prepared them with some Gatorade at practice and made sure that they had a little bit of both going in their system. And so making sure that, whenever I see a kid in the hallway, I'm like, hey, go buy Gatorade, go drink Gatorade. Right. Make sure that we're preparing them that way. We're giving them Heat Guard, which is just salt pills right there.
Right.
Gave them a couple yesterday, and then give them one today before the game. And so we're just making sure those electrolytes and everything are in their body as well as that water, because I feel like they're really hydrated. That last week they just flushed it all out with mostly water and didn't have enough electrolytes in them. So
understandable. And then you guys still hit the weight room throughout the week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We hit the weight room 3 times a week. This week we've adjusted it, and we hit it once this week. So give their bodies a little bit of a rest, but because we're mainly hitting a lot of conditioning this week, so we left them out the weight room twice this week. But they hit it hard Tuesday morning, and they really got after it. So.
Hey, great to hear. And we're gonna go ahead and get into tonight's matchup against the Ashdown Panthers. They are in a similar situation as us, 0-2 on the season. They lost their first game at Mills Chapel over in Little Rock. Really nice school. I watched that game on YouTube. Really nice facilities. In their broadcast, they talked about a new gym that was being built, but you can see out in the background their baseball field and everything like that. Good start for Ashdown. That number one receiver, Bryson French, you'll hear that name a lot tonight, took the opening kickoff, scored on it. First kickoff of the season. That was about, 95, 98 yards. Sir. And then he scores another touchdown in the first quarter. They're up 12-0. And then Mills Chapel scored 43 straight and ended up winning 43-12. And then last week they played Hope, lost that game 25-19. Crazy ending, as you were telling me. A pass that shouldn't have been thrown was thrown, went through defenders and was caught and scored off of that. So what have you seen from Ashdown on film?
Yeah, I mean, we've been watching them on film all week and just preparing for them. And, our kids have been watching them. And, from what I've seen, they're a beatable team, and we've been watching and preparing and hoping that, we can take advantage of some things that we've seen offensively, and then defensively, it's about stopping one. And their quarterback is a little slippery guy. Yes. He's not the most athletic guy in the world, but he's athletic enough to beat you. And so he makes a lot of plays and extends some plays with his feet. They like to run him in the run game a lot, and obviously they like to get it to their guy, number one, Bryson French. They'll move him from receiver to tailback to the slot. They're trying to get him the ball. They're trying to get their guy the ball, and our focus point has been stopping Bryson French and making sure that we make somebody else beat us.
Absolutely. So, if you happen to be making that trip to Ashdown, names to remember: quarterback Riley Williamson, wears number 10, and then number 1 Bryson French. He's all over the field at slot, at receiver. You'll see him at running back. He also plays some defense too. And then starting running back they had, I thought he was serviceable. He's serviceable. He got you the yardage for first downs and stuff like that. But I understand, by all means, getting that ball in the hands of number 1 by whatever means necessary. So, and they were out of the spread, single back, usually receivers, slots, and a wide out on each side. Did they deviate from that any?
Yeah, I mean they've pretty much been 10 personnel from what I've seen. 4 receivers, 1 running back. Not very many tight ends in the game at all. What I've seen, a lot of trips, a lot of doubles. Gotten a little bit of quads a couple times, here or there. But for the most part, they're gonna be 10 personnel. They're gonna keep their skill guys on the field. So. Okay,
moving over to them on defense, 3-4 look, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have nose tackle. 2 ends. They're at about a 4-5 technique, something like that.
5s, yes, sir.
Okay, and looking at that could open up some opportunities in the run game, like right through the middle. If you get that nose moved and you get a hat on those middle linebackers. They don't seem to be terribly well. They have good size up front, like in their front seven.
Yeah, their defensive line is really good, especially their first 3 or 4 guys that they rotate in there. Those guys can play a little bit. Their backers, they do a really good job dropping in coverage. I know that they read flow a lot, so they're not necessarily reading keys. They're just kind of going with the flow there. So, some things to take advantage of there with them. They're overhang linebackers, they're outside linebackers. They're apex real tight, and when they read run mesh, they're attacking downhill hard. They come set the edges hard. So, some things to take advantage of there. Some guys in secondary that we can maybe take advantage of there. Obviously number 1 is going to be playing a little corner, a little safety. They move him around back there a little bit, Bryson French. So, trying to see where he's going to be playing at, see what they're going to have ask him to do this week, and just ask them to see what how they're going to match up to our Warriors tonight.
Exactly, because you can only cover one guy, so you have to cover either a Jordan Lewis or a Benny and Teflon. So that's going to leave somebody else open in that passing game. So pick your poison, basically. Pick Jordan, and you got the chance to throw to Benny. You pick Benny, you got a chance to throw to Jordan. And then, there's some possibilities throwing to the tight end. I know Titus Baker's had a nice start to the year at tight end. He got the TD at Valiant, and there are other guys that can get involved. There's a Quincy Pond that can catch the ball out of the backfield. There's a Ja'Shawn Dixon that can catch the ball out of the backfield. And then there's also the wild card of a Jacarius Frost. You could possibly plug him in at a number of places and could be lights out when he gets the ball because he likes having the ball in his hands and making things happen.
Yes, he is. He's explosive, just like any of those other guys you mentioned. We got quite a few kids. Like Val Golston helped us quite a bit last week. He had a pretty good game last week. He had a couple crucial drops also, but mistakes are gonna happen. We let them know that mistakes are gonna happen. It's a football game. Things happen. These 14, 18-year-old kids, and they're gonna make mistakes. We make mistakes in our daily lives every day, but we just let them know it's the next play. Let's just keep rolling. Come out and make the next play. When it comes back to you, ball comes, find your way, make the play. So
make play, get that first down. Hey, maybe house it, whatever that opportunity brings. So, Baker, I've covered just about everything. I know this week has been about fixing your own problems, cleaning up play. You clean up your play, knock down those penalties, cut those down. Very winnable ball game tonight in Ashdown. Somebody's going to get their first win of the season. Hopefully, it'll be the guys in red, white, and black. I know we'll be in the road uniforms, and as I asked about earlier, we're pretty much at full strength. But like you mentioned, numbers won't be as big as they seem because you have a travel roster.
Yes, sir. So we to avoid us having to take 2 buses and find multiple bus drivers, as a couple of us are working on our bus driving certificates now and license. We're limited in the bus drivers. So we have about 18 kids not going with us tonight. That are primarily JV kids that played and that come suit out with us on varsity. But we're not bringing as many kids with us tonight, so numbers may look low, but that's a travel roster thing. It'll look like that for road games. So,
right, because limited as far as bus driving and things like that, and this will be the shortest road trip of the season. Outside of Valiant, because once we get in district play, we got a trip to Tulsa next week, but we'll get to next week when next week happens. With that being said, do you have any final words for Warrior Nation? Anybody thinking about making that trip? Because, hey, check this out. We are the only county school in action tonight.
Yep. You guys, come out, show out. The Ashdown visitor side is not very big, so if you want to get there and get good seating, you have to get there fairly early. Or if not, bring some lawn chairs to sit along the fence line because their sideline and their visitor stadium stands are not very big. So I would encourage we pack that out and make it loud as possible. The band will have a section in that, so that makes it even smaller. But come out, pack it out. Support these young Warriors, man. Support us, and as we go through and hopefully come out and get our first dub tonight.
Yes, and hey, thanks for joining us, and we're going to get you out of here, and we'll get into the rest of what we're going to talk about when we come back from this break.